Welcome, everyone, to the XMTP Developer Community Call. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm Jay Ha. I work in protocol governance, and I'll be your host today. As you can tell, our webinar is being recorded for the convenience of those who can't attend live, probably over half the world. So we'll be sure to share the recording of this meeting in our XMTP community YouTube channel, and I'll share a link to it here. You can find, let me just put this in the chat here. And oh, hello there. Hi, Tanto DeFi. I'm going to go ahead and promote you to panelist. Oh, I also see Jazz, perhaps. Let's see here. And folks are trickling in now. I'd love to promote you all to panelists. You can join us in this main view or whatever. Hi there, Morgan. Good to see you. Yeah, so I'll post a link to our XMTP community YouTube channel. You can see all of the recordings of our community calls there, and you can also find some great whiteboarding sessions with Naomi, VP of Engineering, and XMTP Core Dev. She walks through step by step many of the key concepts of XMTP. Highly recommend watching. I'd also like to share this our trusty XMTP community code of conduct, which we like to share and invoke at the start of each of these calls. And we observe this during this call and all of our public gatherings of the XMTP community. And we do that just to create a space where everyone feels welcome to share ideas and ask questions. So invoking that right now. I also want to acknowledge that we have this webinar format for the safety and security of the community. I am watching the attendee list and adding you as panelists to join folks in the main window as I recognize you. But please, at any time, raise your hand to speak, and feel free to use, of course, the Q&A tool to ask questions. This is not just for a group of people to talk at you, it's for all of us to share in conversation. And so let's go ahead and jump into our main event. From wallets to passkeys, the new foundation of XMTP identity. Thank you so much to Eric for producing this segment. Really appreciate your insights there. And we'll be talking with Saul Carlin, Chief Product Officer at Ephemera, and also Andrew Corder, product designer at Ephemera, fearless design leader of Convos, an app built with XMTP. So how about if I hand it to you first, Saul? How does that sound?
My pleasure,
Okay,
everybody.
excellent. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. Do you have your own slides, or shall I?
I do. Let me
Okay,
take over
excellent.
here.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Please take it away.
Thanks, Jeha. So I'll just start with a quick refresher on identity in V2. In XMTP V2, your wallet address was your inbox. If you created your identity with 0xAB on MetaMask, that hex string became both your handle and your single decryption key. If you lose the key or decide to switch wallets, and you abandon every single contact and thread tied to it. There were no secondary keys. There's no rotating to a smart contract wallet, no multi-sig. It was EOAs only. This is basically like having, a house with one key, one door. You lose the key, you're locked out of the house. V3 flips the model. Now the inbox lives above your keys. So wallets, passkeys, biometrics, etc., they're all merely ways to unlock the same underlying inbox. You can log in with the passkey on your laptop, add a ledger later, rotate in a smart account, conversations, and your identity stays put. Wallets on other chains like Solana could potentially be linked so people can discover or DM that address as well. And it's powered by this new primitive, the inbox ID. It's a stable identifier. Think of it like an email address, but backed by cryptography. And one side you can attach access keys. So again, these are EOAs, passkeys, smart wallets. And on the other side, you attach public identities. So these are your wallets that resolve with ENS, your forecaster identities, potentially Solana wallet, like I mentioned. And either side of this relationship can change independently. If you rotate out a compromised key or add a new ENS name, the inbox ID stays intact. I think the best analogy for this is like the IMEI of a cell phone. The hardware of your device can, you accept different SIMs with different phone numbers, but the device identity itself is fixed. It's the anchor. So any credential that can sign a message can vouch for your inbox. Ethereum, Bitcoin, smart accounts, safes, passkeys, any sort of social graph ID that can sign, like potentially Blue Sky AT protocol. Um, Linking any public identity allows others to find you through that alias. And you don't have to do this though. If you don't have a wallet, that's fine. A single device bound passkey is enough to get started. You can connect the wallet later without changing addresses. So, for example, a gamer might know you as jha.sol when they DM that name. XMTP routes that straight to your inbox, even if you've authenticated only with a passkey. This is awesome for users. It's private by default. Nothing is public unless you explicitly link it with a signature. Your contact list, your list of conversations, travels automatically with you across apps, syncs across the network, because your inbox ID never changes. Keys, names, identities, it's all hot swappable. You can revoke a stolen ledger, plug in a new one, your conversations keep flowing. And you maintain signal level encryption across the board. So regardless of what app or device you're using, whether you're using a passkey or a wallet, you maintain the same security guarantees of MLS that are built into XMTP v3. Also, many exciting new possibilities for builders with this new flexible identity model. Uh, One that's, I think, awesome for builders is just this concept of instant onboarding. You don't need a user to create a wallet or even have a wallet to use an app with XMTP now. All users need is to simply Face ID or Touch ID, and they can start messaging from a passkey-based account and connect crypto later. So now the wallet becomes much more about transacting and accessing the assets that are associated with that wallet. You can also just create infinite inboxes for users. So users can have an inbox with all of their professional identities linked together. They can create ephemeral, anonymous, pseudonymous inboxes, allowing them to keep their world separate. And of course, there's the opportunity to plug into not just one network, but every network with signing identities. Everyone's reachable across the board, anywhere, as long as they have an identity that they can sign with. That creates the opportunity for truly cross-chain or even cross-network social experiences and applications that transcend just one single blockchain ecosystem and actually provide the foundation for true global interconnected chat. So that's the new identity. Any questions? Yeah, Tanto.
So, if you, just so I can understand and clear, if I use an address to create an inbox ID on V3, I can also remove it after. Is that address discoverable by default on the network with a method like get address for inbox ID type of thing? Because I noticed that I was able to um, I guess I'm like another question too. Is it better to build my chat app where I'm DMing inbox IDs and using this new unique identifier, or should we do, because a lot of people still want to find their .eth or their wallet addresses in a that like the most important thing when you're building a search app, I think, is the search input that has to go pull off all these other resolvers, right? I need to make that input really fluid. And like if you're building
Yeah.
a multi-chain chat app and your users have identifiers only on that chain, you're going to go pull and get that data and be like, hey, now now .eth is here, now .lens is here, .uni. So I guess I'm curious about like what I don't want to confuse users, and everyone thinks XMTP is for wallets, but now it's you guys have this is smart actually, because you did a great intro. Like the V2 is kind of built on that primitive where everyone had that wallet history now, and now you can kind of security through obfuscation a little bit better. Is that kind of the principle, is using inbox IDs for our chat client apps and pushing them away from, but still like find your wallet users and your old accounts if you really want to? Because I imagine like, were you from Converse, like the previous team chat app? Like, did you get a lot of spam and stuff or?
Oh yeah, I mean wallets being on chain
Yeah.
like discoverable, of course they're going to be targets for spam. And the inbox ID, to answer your question about discoverability of the address used to create the inbox ID, like yes, any address that is linked with an inbox ID, that's actually published on chain. So
Okay.
the network itself is transparent about the identity associations with the inbox IDs in order to facilitate how users actually want to find each other, which is using their identities and names from different networks and blockchain ecosystems. Users don't want to use an inbox ID to find each other. And even though that may be how we recommend developers build apps, using the inbox ID as the core user identifier, handing out your inbox ID would be like handing out your phone's IMEI device code. It's not relevant, to, anyone except your cell carrier. Just like the inbox ID that you use is really only relevant to the app that you're using, or the apps, I should say, that you're using to access XMTP. So the beauty of this model is like, those public associations, the name that you go by might change over time, but your conversations don't have to. Your inbox stays fixed. Your names, your addresses, the passkeys you use to authenticate, all of those links are ultimately ephemeral. And if any of them is compromised, it can be revoked. And so you're able to maintain this control over your secure inbox and your identity, and choose over time how you show up. But because everything is on chain, that means that for true private, um, unlinkable inboxes, you are going to want to have separate inbox IDs. So let's say you have an application where users can create a new account or identity for each chat room, and you don't want it to be the case that those are linked to each other. Those can be tracked on chain, and you can find out that actually, the user who's Alice.eth in one chat is Bob.eth in another. That would require having a separate inbox for each of those unlinkable identities. Once you create that separation, then there is no way to connect that user on chain.
Okay, I see. And is like a good assumption, because I also know like how does XMTP become aware of a wallet address for a user's inbox ID? Because I've been thinking about, let's say there's a smart contract wallet address on a chain that isn't your typical like top 5 chains, right? Those other
Yeah.
chains don't know about this address. If I sign up with that address, while it might be a valid like ETH address format, and it becomes my like address that's linked to my Xbox identity, if I were to use like financial features in a chat, like a send, we might end up with a loss of funds if it thinks that this smart contract wallet on like chain ID 42 exists on like base, right? It doesn't exist there. So I'm just thinking from like I don't want to build, I'm obviously thinking a version of loss of funds. Is it a best practice to kind of like, if you're building a client, to kind of know that you're like, give every user an EOA so they can transact by default, and then kind of like 7702, maybe they can point that EOA and it can become a smart contract, and like progressive onboarding. You kind of seemed like you were talking about that with like the previous slide where you said
Yeah.
you just like passkey enable and like abstract away the wallet for the beginning of the user and then let them progressively transact. Is that?
Yeah, you're absolutely on the right track here. I think the way to think about it is separation of messaging from transacting.
Yeah.
In a world where users might not even have wallets associated with their inboxes, you can't assume that any user can simply be transacted with based on the wallet that is used as their identity. And so that means that, applications are going to want to either create ways for them to connect a transacting wallet that they control or create a wallet for them, like you mentioned.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Saul.
Yeah. Hey, Morgan.
Hey, so this is this is definitely sick in terms of like distribution. This gets us really excited. Is there a full list of kind of like other apps and ecosystems that basically are now enabled by this? You kind of like started to go down the list of, all these different chains are now applicable, maybe in kind of a blue sky and these types of examples. Is
Yeah.
there a full list of that to really see like that full scale distribution?
So the way that this is set up, is that list can actually be pretty flexible, because really what's tying any non-EVM identity to an inbox is a passkey. So let's say you have an app, Pink Sky, that is built on the app proto. You you would use a passkey in that app to basically create an association between that passkey, a three-way association between that passkey, the user's identity, and the inbox ID. And so really anything that Jazz is on this call and is famous for saying, if it signs, it sends. Anything that is capable of creating a provable association that you own that identity, and essentially, signing the inbox, you could say, with that identity, can be used. Um, it is effectively a hard fork of the network every time a new authenticating identity is added. So if there was demand, say, for Solana wallets to be first class, you can just create an inbox ID directly from it and never have a passkey, never have an Ethereum wallet. That would be a protocol upgrade. And that's something that there's now precedent for. We just went through that essentially in March with adding passkeys to the protocol as a authentication method. So that's something that can be done flexibly over time. I would say that our roadmap and what we expect to see happen over the next several months will focus on the most well-known identity types that developers are asking for, and we'll support developers in making sure that the protocol is supporting their particular use case with that identity. But to answer your question directly, the list is really just flexible and based on what can sign, and that list could be quite long, and we probably should publish something, and I'll share that with you afterwards.
Really, really cool. All right, thanks, Saul.
Jazz, did I see your hand? Oh, Jazz?
Let's see, maybe I need
Hello,
to.
hello.
Oh,
There we are.
How's it?
hey, Jazz.
Good to see everybody. I just want to say I love seeing this, specifically the focus on revocation and association agility. All fantastic. The questions that I kind of have is around the integration of passkeys. Can you talk a little bit about how that challenge authentication is working?
Yeah, I'm actually not the right person to answer that question. Let's see who's on our panelists today. Do we have um,
Yeah,
Nick? We have
specifically.
Nick. Nick, you're
Yeah,
the
sure.
person.
Uh, so we treat passkeys quite similarly to the way we treat wallets, where we need to get a valid signature from the passkey of the entire update. So that is a standard payload that we generate for any change to your XMTP ID. And then we get the passkey to sign that as the challenge. And we can then say the person who controls the passkey authorize this action on your account. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that helps. I'm curious, does that come from, is that completely decentralized at this point, or is that relying on central services to execute?
No central services. Like you can do this with like a locally generated key, just needs to be a valid signature. And all we're trying to do is assert that the public key associated with your passkey actually signed this message. So it's all offline.
Love it. Finger snaps across the board. Love the work, guys.
Thanks.
Great to hear your voice, Jazz.
Yeah, definitely.
One more question before we move on. No? All right. Well, I was talking about some of the things that builders can do with passkeys and the Convos app, which has been really leading the charge here, although on different infra, which you'll hear about a little bit from Quarter, has some great ideas and concepts that they wanted to share with you. So I'll just pass it directly off to Quarter, who's leading that effort.
Hey everyone, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'm Andrew Corder. I am a product designer working on this app that we're calling Convos. So get my screen share in order here. For some of y'all who maybe have not heard of Convos, let me tell you what it is a little bit. Convos is a privacy-forward chat app that we're building within Ephemera. It's an open source app. It's built on our open protocol, and we're trying to be open about our process of building the app in general, which is why I'm excited to share with you how we're thinking about onboarding and bringing in passkeys to that process today. If you're interested in it and you're not already in the alpha group, I recognize some of your names and faces here already. Head over to convos.org and sign up right here at the early access to Convos list, and we'll get you in there as soon as we can. I have a lot to say about Convos, but today I'll focus on onboarding. And the reason we'll focus on onboarding is it's related to passkeys, which is the topic of this, but it's also where we've gotten the most feedback from users in our current test flight. We're getting feedback like, hey, onboarding process is very seamless. Great onboarding. Did not stumble or get hit with shit. New Convos app is very smooth. And a lot of why onboarding feels smooth is because we made the decision to go with passkeys rather than passwords or some other method of primary authentication. I won't go very deep into what passkeys are. I think most folks here are somewhat familiar. But as a reminder, passkeys are phishing resistant, which means because the private key never leaves your device or never gets typed in, it's very hard to steal. It's very user-friendly in the sense that there's not a password to remember. You don't have to have that mental overhead when you're creating or re-accessing your account. You just use a Face ID or a fingerprint or a device PIN. And then within an ecosystem like iOS and Android devices, it syncs really well across devices. So these are general properties of passkeys, which are cool, but there's some specific things that made them very appealing to us as we built Convos. Thing one, perhaps the most important, is that they are, as Saul mentioned previously, just extraordinarily private. When you create an account that only requires a passkey, you don't have to give up any personally identifying information to that app or that service. You don't have to give away anything that would uniquely identify you across other apps or other properties. It's just very, very private. And for us, with Convos intentionally being built as a privacy-forward messaging app, this is critical. We also are trying to be an app that people use every day, which means we have to be consumer-grade user experience, which means smoothness matters. So the notion that I can just Face ID to auth, which is usually the way you're going to interface with a passkey on a modern device, or of course, Touch ID, or of course, PIN code, is wonderful. It creates this very seamless, very fast flow where often a sign-in or an account creation can feel clunky. And finally, of course, owing to those properties I discussed a moment ago and some stuff that Saul mentioned, it's super secure. So Convos, like many applications built using XMTP, is all about private messaging, but it also has a capability of managing assets. And so when we're talking about creating a very secure account very smoothly, excuse me, It's amazing to be able to protect cache and have created that very frictionlessly. Lastly, it's something consumers are starting to see more of, right? So it would be uncomfortable or almost irresponsible if Convos was going to introduce the idea of passkeys to consumers. That's maybe too much of a lift, but everyday folks are now starting to encounter passkeys being marketed and promoted or sort of favored in the Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, PayPal ecosystems. And this is a nice tailwind for apps like ours who are trying to build something smooth and secure and private. So why don't I show you what our onboarding looks like? This is a video. I'll let it play once through quick, and then I'll fly back through and sort of narrate in a little bit more detail. But again, this is a test flight app. It's a screen recording right out of the app. So if there's typos, that's real. So the user would say, tap create a contact card, go into the system dialog to create a passkey. Behind the scenes, Convos is now generating a wallet that is managed by that passkey. Now they have an account. All you have to do in this sort of smoothness is type your name. You're into the app, and right away you have an account and you can send a message. So when we say smooth, I think that was about 10 seconds from having the app open to being in a message composer, and that's what we want as a consumer app team, is to help our users get to the thing that we're trying to do, which is send some messages as quickly as possible, and the passkey flow helps a lot there. So to go a little bit more slowly, our users say that first tap, we're framing our sign up as creating a contact card. You get this passkey dialog, which is a system dialog. You can choose if you have multiple locations where to put your passkey. In this case, we'll put it in the passwords app on the Apple device. Face ID is triggered automatically. Now behind the scenes here, Convos is generating a wallet, as y'all spoke about in the prior Q&A there. It's important for us that our users can transact anytime they're messaging as well. So because a passkey doesn't natively give you the capability of transacting, we're generating a wallet that the passkey account controls behind the scenes here. That continues. And effectively, you're done. The rest of this is UI, where you give yourself a name. An app could choose to assign you a name, and you're in. The last thing I'll say about our specific execution is that I think we can do more to tell the story about why passkeys are important, so that for our users in these flows, when they're maybe expecting to see a password field or enter your email field, we can narrate that passkeys actually do the job they're coming to us for a little bit better. Passkeys are for privacy. So this is an exploration that we're looking at incorporating, where the passkey native dialog comes up, and then we tell the story. We use passkeys for your privacy, fast, secure, private sign-in, etc. We love passkeys. However, nothing's perfect, right? So here's some questions that we're not sure how we're going to resolve. We'll work through them as we get there. We know that for users who have an Android device and an iOS device, cross-platform sharing management of passkeys is a little bit gnarly. We're not sure what the best practice there is. We'll invent it as we get there. There are questions about multi-passkey support. Our lens is that every user of Convos probably only needs one passkey ever, but the system and our app probably might let you create multiples, which then becomes also a gnarly management challenge. So if you're thinking about building with passkeys, be very intentional about how you hope or how you would suggest that your users incorporate them or create them. And then lastly, outside of the gigantic companies that I keep rattling off, your Apples and Googles, there aren't a lot of small independent consumer apps that we've seen that are using passkeys as the primary form of authentication. It's more often seen as like a second factor. For that reason, the tooling is a little bit thin. And so we're finding that we're really having to collaborate with our technology partners and build a handful of our own patches and tooling to get this experience that we feel is very important to come to life, because it's just not off the shelf ready yet. That then is how we're thinking about Convos, and Convos using passkeys for authentication, for privacy, for smoothness, for security. And I will shush up and take some questions if you have any.
Hey, Quarter, I have a question.
Amazing.
Yeah, what's up, man? So are there gonna be? So I'm just thinking, passkeys are usually, like, in my experience as a developer, I usually don't roll my own passkey off. I got to go for a provider. I got to go to like
Yeah.
Privy, Dynamic, Turnkey, whatever, right? And to
Yep.
integrate, which is cool, but I think that mostly just comes from because managing of passkeys, like, it's not like it's not just like there's no npm package to do it, and then you really need a backend infrastructure to start managing those and, like, securing them. Okay, I don't know. I guess there really wasn't a question there. I'm more just thinking through, like, a passkey first approach for building for the hackathon. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, well, I mean, for what it's worth, although you didn't ask a question, that's the road we're on to. We looked very closely at both Privy and Turnkey and alternative solutions, and so I think we've settled on one of those providers. But you're thinking about it exactly the way that we were as well.
Yeah, it's like, because, like, it's all the nice thing about, like, a wallet connect is, like, hey, like, they're managing their keys. I'm non-custodial. They can one-click connect, and it's like boom. But building with passkeys is gonna, like, there's extra considerations to take on, and I was trying to think, like, I'll probably have to do some more research provider into that. I guess technically, though, just building for Coinbase Smart Wallet is technically supporting passkeys and XMTP by default because they use passkeys. So okay, just thought out loud.
So there's maybe something I can add here. There's a lot of confusion in crypto because there are a lot of things that use passkeys, but they are actually using a passkey to give you a wallet. So Turnkey, Privy, Coinbase Smart Wallet, and we support all of that, and that's a great use case. But from XMTP's perspective, you just have either an EOA with Turnkey or Privy, or maybe a smart wallet with Coinbase Smart Wallet. And you're right, like, building that yourself, DIYing it would be really hard. We also just support passkeys natively. So just using the passkey on your device as the identity, DIYing that is a much smaller lift. You don't have to worry about securing, sensitive keys that might have money behind them. You just need to use, like, a passkey library to get access to the device key, if you're in the browser or in your mobile app. That's less scary, for sure.
Okay, no, thank you for pointing that out, because I wasn't aware of, like, passkey specific libraries without the wallet component. So, like, just thinking, like, hey, can I make my one-click passkey generate, and then, like you said, abstract the financial away and just give them messaging with passkeys. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, like, all the browsers actually come built in with WebAuthn through the FIDO standard. And so you can actually do it, maybe not prettily, but with no libraries at all in a browser. Things have come a long way on passkeys being a nice developer primitive.
I had these like leftover ARCs Halo chips from, like, a previous hackathon, and I thought, oh, that's just kind of cool, because now all of a sudden, like, you can't read my messages unless I tap my NFC chip to unlock. Anyways, I was having fun in a hackathon. You know how it is.
Yeah, beautiful. Any other questions?
Are you guys gonna add the passkey only like no wallet, passkey only sign in to XMTP chat as like a demo at some point? Is that like a ticket you guys are thinking about doing to show people?
I assume that was for Saul. I think it's a great idea. I don't know. I don't know if that's on the list for xmtp.chat, but it seems like a cool thing to build into demo.
Can you share a bit more about the syncing of conversations across clients? As I'm spinning up a new client, how am I going about getting a user's existing conversation list and bringing that into my app?
Who here is best to answer that? It's not me.
I don't see Naomi. Nick, I think this one's going to fall to you as well.
All right, my connection cut out. I didn't quite hear the question. Mind repeating yourself?
How do you sync conversations?
Oh, between multiple installations of your app, like if you have, an iPad app and a mobile app, and you want to have the same conversation in both.
Yeah, or even across, like that was kind of a V2 feature at least, where I could see my conversation in Coinbase Wallet or in Convos or whatever. Kind of a similar interoperability question.
Yeah, we have some guides up on how to configure this. Maybe we should just drop a link to the documentation, since there's some nuance to what gets synced when, what happens when the device goes permanently offline. But yeah, I'll point you to the right docs. Definitely possible.
Great. Thanks so much, Scott. Thanks, Nick. And looks like we have a question in Q&A. Thanks so much, Chris. So this is from Chris Bosco. An FYI that he'll be dropping an XIP tomorrow on adding an AT Proto ID to your inbox. Fantastic. Thanks so much for your contributions, Chris.
Sick.
Over years. Thank you. Great. Thank you for the link, Saul and Nick. All right. Well, I would like to go to our next segment, which is some engineering updates. Naomi, our VP of Engineering, who usually shares these, wasn't able to join the call today, so I'm just going to go ahead and share the slide she's given us. All right, and let's see here. We have a new release landing this week. It'll include improvements to device sync, also improvements to streaming reliability, and a bunch of bug fixes and improvements to stability of the protocol. And then we also have coming up next week, quantum encryption. I think that may be a whole dev call topic in itself. I will get that on the schedule for sure. And we are hiring. So please let me go ahead and share a link to that. If anyone is looking, please drop your hat into the ring, please. Yeah. And well, let's see. Are there any other questions like related to the topic today or even outside of it? Anyone want to share? We just have, just a couple more minutes actually. But maybe we should set up another dev call where maybe folks can just share, talk about what they're building. I'm sure Eric has that on his mind already. Well, anything else for today? All right. Well, thank you to our guests, to Saul and Andrew, Eric for organizing just really fantastic lay of the land, understanding the landscape here. And thank you everyone for your questions that help bring out even more relevant details. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. See you
Thanks,
next time.
all.